Hey everybody, welcome back to Esoteric Rambling. I'm Jesse Arnold, and today I'm going to be doing my review slash reaction to Bill and Ted Face the Music. What can I say about Bill and Ted that you don't already know, unless you've never watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey? In which case, I would tell you to stop watching this reaction video and go watch those movies on whatever streaming service or DVD, Blu-ray player source of your choice. So go check those movies out and then come back here and see the rest of my review. So Bill and Ted are, I know this might be blasphemy to some people, especially some folks in my age bracket, who grew up with movies like Back to the Future and other things, but Bill and Ted, I think, is my personal favorite time traveling movie. Back to the Future it's a little sharper, it's a little more together, but I feel more of a kinship with these guys than I do with Marty, and yeah, so it's just a lot of fun, those movies. I've recently rewatched the first and second Bill and Ted with my good friend John, and he and my other friend Sean came over this weekend and we watched Bill and Ted Face the Music. And it was a movie I never thought I would get a third installment of, considering that the original two came out so close together. And here we are 31 years after the first Bill and Ted, and we got a sequel. And this isn't some huge franchise. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't Star Trek. It's Bill and Ted. And I'm not complaining. I'm not trying to insult. I am thrilled that we got a third movie in this series. And we got to see everything that built up in those, even though they work on their own and they pay off well individually. Watching them now as a trilogy, each movie does stand on its own, but they all lend and grow from the previous ones. And Bill and Ted Face the Music, I think, was a fantastic cherry on top of this absurd, beautiful comedy adventure through time and music. So that said, it's directed by Dean Parisot, who I had to double check because I was like, wait, I know that name. He directed a lot of stuff, probably most notably Galaxy Quest is one that stands out to me the most. So if you saw Galaxy Quest and like the humor in that, check out this. It stars Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, respectively, as Ted and Bill, two lifelong friends who had a band called the Wild Stallions, and now they are grown adult men with wives and children, and they're still trying to find the song that will unite the world. But now the stakes are higher. It's not just saving the world, it's saving reality from being completely wiped out of existence. So the stakes are a lot higher, and the goofiness is even more absurd. I absolutely loved it. The two actresses they cast as their daughters, Samara Weaving as Thea and Bridget Lundy Payne as Billy, are great in their roles. I feel like the actress that plays Billy, Alex Winter's daughter, does a really good job of imitating almost Keanu Reeves. Or are they backwards? Am I reading the names wrong? Am I getting it backwards? I don't remember. She's got the darker hair. She acts a lot like Keanu Reeves, and it's almost an impersonation, but she makes it just enough her own. And Samara Weaving does like kind of her own thing, which is really good. It was just delightful to see a family dynamic, because you see so many movies with kids and parents, and I've always seen this growing up, so I'm not just saying this as an adult now, but even when I was growing up, there's always this like contention and anger and, you know, fighting with families, and I know that's there, but it just seems like Hollywood and big movies always like to really shove that down their throat. They're like, parents and kids are always fighting each other, and I know there's plenty of movies that don't have that. I mean, the original movie had you know, issues with Ted's dad trying to force him into the military academy and everything. And so it's fun to see that the kids actually support the parents in this movie. And I'm saying this as someone who is not a parent. It was just fun and delightful to see a different take on a family dynamic. And I don't want to spoil it, but there is another murder bot from the future that is sent in who I think steals the show and all the scenes he's in. So he's great. And of course, William Sadler comes back as Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, who again, every time he's on scene, he just kind of sucks up all the attention in the best possible ways. So yeah, if you liked Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, they take the best elements from both movies, so the time travel, the history, and just the crazy zany adventure from the first one. And I'm just going to flat out say it, Death is the best part of the sequel and Station. That they take enough of those elements out and mix them together into this new story that both complements and grows on from what the originals were. And I'm not trying to overhype this and make it sound super intellectual and everything, but there's a lot of really great moments in all of these movies because the characters of Bill and Ted are so genuine and sincere. They're lovably idiotic, but they just seem like just genuinely good people. They're not in the music necessarily to make all this money and be super famous and popular. They just love music, and it's just great seeing their progression as characters in this third movie, what they're trying to do with their music, how people are reacting to it, and when they get thrown into this crazy whirlpool of madness, how earnest they are about so many things. And there's a lot of really great moments, because if you've seen the trailers, you know they run into themselves, future versions of themselves, and it's really interesting. A lot of the, I don't know what the right word is, but themes, psychology, whatever you want to take about, call it, that is really interesting, and it's really deep if you want to read it. It could just be very surface and funny, but I think there's a lot of little observations, a little commentaries, different things about how we live our lives that get expressed in all of these movies, that it's very easily to miss or ignore or not get carried away with, because they're funny. And this movie does a really good job of, I think, not necessarily wrapping those things up, but bringing kind of a fun conclusion to where they go with those things. It's hard to think of any examples without necessarily spoiling anything, so warning, there's going to be a mild spoiler here. The current timeline Bill and Ted do see multiple versions of themselves in the future, and at one point they have a conversation, I can't remember which character it was, but says, "When I look at you, I see myself." Which of course he sees himself. It's his younger self or his older self. And, you know, but it's such a great line from, like, movies where you'd see, you know, like Woody Harrelson in Solo telling young Harrison Ford, or young Han Solo, you know, like, "I see you, you know, a lot of myself in you." It's that kind of a moment, but it's literally the same character saying it to their younger selves. And it sounds so goofy, but it really works, and it delivers this kind of extra thing. At least to me, I don't know, it just really landed some stuff. And I think the music they chose as the themes and everything were really good. And this is really turning into a ramble. Try to wrap this up here, but good acting, good special effects. I think it's better special effects than the original movies had. Solid acting, and again, these are characters I never thought to see 30 years later, let alone 30 years in their own personal careers in the movie. So it was just a delightful treat. And as of now, with the movies I've seen in theaters or new for 2020 that came out to video on demand and streaming, I would say Bill and Ted lands strongly in the top 3 with Birds of Prey and Onward. I'm not quite sure the hierarchy of the 3 at this point. I'm going to need to watch Bill and Ted again at least one more time before I can re-rank those, but it's definitely in the top 3 with Birds of Prey and Onward. I know this year is pretty limited with the number of movies that have come out, but Bill and Ted's definitely in the top 3. We've got a couple months left. It's probably going to land out in the top 5 by the time the year ends, unless there's some really big surprises that I was not anticipating. But there it is, my rambling review of Bill and Ted Face the Music. Great cast. It's a lot of fun. That's the most important thing I think I can say, is that it's a lot of fun. It's delightful. Just with everything going on in the world right now, this movie was very uplifting and funny and full of heart and all of that. So in the famous words of Bill and Ted, I will leave you with, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.